Welcome to a week 5 of your AVGL CSGO off angle. My name is Philip Pompetti. Joining me as always, Hollis Bain. Going to jump right into things for the 5th week of our CSGO season. Of course, starts off with the predictions that are still ongoing on our website, avglcollege.org. Very simple. Jump in week to week, go to the match page, pick the winner, the winning team that you believe is going to win the contest for that week. It will contribute to your win score, which is just a percentage, number of games you pick correctly at the end of the season. The top predictor will be receiving a respawn chair, and these are freaking awesome chairs. Super comfortable, great lumbar support, great build quality. They've been in the business for over 30 years. They know what they're doing. These are definitely the next generation, the next wave of gaming chairs. So definitely jump over to our website, avglcollege.org. Jump in on the predictions, make your picks, and see if you can't be the one that grabs that chair at the end of the season. Of course, we've got our LAN finals. We've partnered up with BeachCon this season to hold our LAN finals at Long Beach, California, April 14th through the 18th. The top 2 teams from Dota and the top 2 teams from CSGO are going to be on the main stage competing for that $10,000 prize pool. We're expecting a big turnout, around 1,000 people at BeachCon itself. We're going to try to fill about 200 or so seats at the LAN itself. Dust's going to be there. Mode's going to be there. All the best casters from the season are going to be there. It's going to be a big event. So definitely make sure you, if you're in the California area, in Southern California, if you're in San Diego, Los Angeles, and you want to head over to that event, definitely make sure you grab your tickets today. You can find all that information on Twitter at AVGLOfficial, and that's going to be huge. Really excited for our LAN finals today. So again, head over to our website, avglcollege.com. Find us on Twitter, AVGLOfficial, at AVGLOfficial. Grab your tickets. We're going to have HyperX giveaways. Man, it's going to be awesome. It's going to be really cool. Respawn giveaways, all kinds of prizes. So head over, grab your tickets today. We'll see you at the beach. And with that, let's wrap it up and get right into the weekly winners for week 5. All right, jumping right into our weekly winners for the CSGO season for week 5 AVGL. Hollis, you got 3 for me today. I'm really excited to talk about these guys. We got UCI Gold versus Auburn. Of course, that's the game that we casted. Fantastic job, sir, if I may say so myself.
Yes.
We have got UCF versus Ohio State, with UCF coming out on top on that one, and York versus Ryerson. So, all right, you were with me there at the UCI Gold matchup. What exactly is it about that squad that made them your weekly winners for this week?
So with UCI Gold, as you know, we got to see some dominant T sides against Auburn. What I really drew from that best of 3 was how insane this team is going to be going into playoffs. They're 5-0 now, undefeated, straight into playoffs. And if they had lost that match against Auburn, which at one point was doable, it was a possibility. I think we would have seen a completely different attitude week 1 in the playoffs. So them going 5-0 in a dominant manner, that is. I have a feeling that that's going to be a huge part of how they play in playoffs. And when it comes to UCF, our second team, Philip, I mean they were 2-2 going into this match against Ohio State, so they're already like on the cusp of not going into playoffs and going into playoffs. They're sitting right on that fine line of will we make it, and they did make it to playoffs with this win. They're 3-2 right now, and Ohio State is 2-2. So Ohio State has one more game to play. They can challenge UCF for that last spot in the group, of course. But UCF definitely stepped up to the plate with this one.
Fantastic. And then, of course, York versus Ryerson. Ryerson was a team that looked white hot at the beginning of the season. York comes out on top on this one. So what do you got for me there?
So yeah, this is probably, it sucks because this is the best match I think we could have shown for the entire season. These 2 teams are debatably some of the best teams in collegiate Counter-Strike at the moment. Both of them have like main players, and the IM players and stuff like that, and they play so well together all the time. And Ryerson coming in here on a 4-win streak. Same with York. Both 4-0 teams, both getting ready to take that last spot for the number 1 seed in their group, and Ryerson loses 2-0. York Esports, I mean, they came in hot. One Crux, their player, actually really helped that win. I think it came down to just some really sloppy T-side executes from Ryerson, some puggy behavior, but overall it was really good Counter-Strike to watch. And actually, I'm really sad we didn't get to show it on stream.
Yeah, that would have been a good one. I was excited. I mean, I mean, not to kind of diminish the performance from UCI Gold and Auburn, because that ended up being, like you said, a fantastic game. That first Inferno map was really close, but I also would have loved to have seen the York versus Ryerson matchup. But so just to recap, that's our 3 weekly winners are UCI Gold, the boys from Irvine, UCF, and York, coming out as Hollis Baines, Mr. Frito Benditos, 3 weekly winners for this week. And with that, we're going to wrap it up. Just keep the ball rolling. Jump right into some Rising Stars and our MVPs, and we'll get to Off Angle here shortly. All right, guys. All right, guys, jumping right into our Rising Stars for Week 5 of our CSGO season for AVGO. Hollis has got 2 for me. I'm sorry, we have 1 Rising Star, but we've got an MVP to follow that up. So our Rising Star for this week is going to be Chilled Dan from UCF. So Hollis, tell me a little bit about this player. Why is he so special, and what stands out about him to you?
So Chilled Dan, just like last week, we have a Rising Star that has consistently improved their ADR and their efficacy throughout the past week, or weeks, and the past months of this tournament. Chilled Dan actually was dropping around 51 ADR back in February, the beginning of February. So like definitely on the lower side of things, but has with time brought it up to 126 in the second map versus Ohio State. So yeah, we were talking about one of our weekly winners was UCF versus Ohio State, and yeah, Chilled Dan was one of the reasons they beat them. The map was 2-0, or the match I should say was 2-0 in favor of UCF, and a huge reason as to why it was 2-0 was Chilled Dan right here. The first map he dropped 92 ADR, the second map 126. I mean, if that is not star performance, I don't know what is. And the reason why he's a Rising Star, Philip, is because it has taken a while for him to get it to that level, but he's now finally here, finally in his prime, and we'll have to see if he continues that through playoffs. So.
Awesome. Fantastic. So our MVP, actually, just to follow it up, is going to be One Crux from York. So what was it about? He's not the Rising Star for this week because he's not. He doesn't kind of meet that criteria, but he is the MVP. So what is it about One Crux that makes him the MVP?
So One Crux, pretty well-known player, I should say. He's the reason why he's not a Rising Star, and the reason why he's an MVP is because he's already known. He's already been at that star level. People have already expected this type of performance from him, but he did have this type of performance, and that is an MVP level performance. 94 ADR on the second map, 86 ADR on the first map against Ryerson. So this is a very, very tough team. None of the players on his team or Ryerson's team got above 90 ADR in this matchup. And so he got 95, 26 frags on both maps, 14 efficacy. Definitely someone to look out for when the score is close like this. 16-12, 16-10. He's the guy who's making sure that each round is pushed to the win.
Awesome. Fantastic. So just to recap, we got Chilled Dan from UCF as our Rising Star for this 5th week of AVGL CSGO, and the MVP honors are going to go to One Crux, and with that, we're going to jump right into our top plays for the 5th week of this awesome Counter-Strike season. All right, guys, time for our top plays powered by Respawn for the AVGL Week 5 Counter-Strike season. Let's get right into it with number 5. They're turning into an absolutely amazing duo, and as I say, that sound goes down on site. Dakota with the follow-up deagle to the head.
Baz denying such a thing from the CTs, and Op and M4 at 1 hit on this 2v3 retake.
This is a safe situation.
Ooh, Weedy with a nice double kill. Now it's a 1-2, all up to Allion. Bomb is planted for him. Picks up 1. Can he get the second? It will be a 3K in the round. He does have a kit though. If he starts sticking this, he's got a peek. Gets the kill.
With the 4K.
Nice play 3K on the round.
They say fools believe in it, so I guess
Maybe a
I'm
3-on-3
one of them.
rotation. That's the great boosted position, a chance to get a kill there and shut down this round. Doesn't seem to grab it. Another frag back, another retrade here.
Oh,
And Rokuro is doing everything he wants to do on this round to make sure that the CTs cannot get back into this. All right, guys, getting started right into our off angle for the week 5 episode of AVGL Off Angle. Actually, before we start, we've got a few things on the docket. Okay, we're going to talk about SK, obviously. We're going to talk about the rumors regarding that roster with Flamey and Simple. We're going to talk about Fnatic, and we're going to talk about Golden. But what I want to do first, and this is going to be a little bit of a surprise for Hollis here, is I want to ask you a little bit about what you thought of our recent experience together, being able to cast the UCI versus Auburn game, because I think that's an aspect of Counter-Strike that kind of gets overlooked. We take a lot of times we take these casters for granted. We don't kind of give them their fair due. So, what was that experience like for you? I'm actually really curious.
well, see, I had done it the week before with Dust, and I had gotten a little bit experience doing like the more color, like analytic type casting. But when we did it, it was mainly us going back and forth, kind of doing the play-by-play, and then both of us doing analytic stuff. So to me, it was actually really fun. I had a great time doing it, but at the same time, like I in the back of my head, I could tell there was just so many things I could improve on.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was one of the things that stood out to me that I think that we overlook when we talk about the top level casters is that when things start happening like one after the other, when these site executes start happening and it's entry frag that gets traded, and then a pick happens across the map, it becomes so difficult to keep track of all that information and so difficult to be able to articulate all the stuff that's going down in the round. It's really hard to kind of figure out which pieces are worth talking about, which pieces are worth saying in that moment. I thought it was a really fun experience, and I actually have a lot more respect for our casters, for like Dust and Amode and Scrawny, after having tried it myself. And it's something I definitely am interested in trying again. But I think we take for granted these casters because that's not an easy gig. I mean, you got to sit there and sometimes for a best of 3 that could last, 2-3 hours and kind of be on your game the whole time. But I had a blast. But I mean, is there anything right off the bat that you could think that you would want to do better for next time? I know there's a ton I would want to do better.
Yeah, I think the number one thing is probably being able to articulate the important part of the play-by-plays. Not just like the he killed him, he trades him. This guy. It's the important part of the trading that goes on mid-round.
Definitely. Yeah, it's so fun. I had an absolute blast. I do hope that we get a chance to cast together again in the future. That'd be awesome. Maybe a show match or something like that. But yeah, that was awesome. But I just wanted to touch base on that and kind of let everyone know that we had a great time. Hollis and I had a great time casting together last week, and it's definitely so. If you ever see a caster, thank your caster because they actually have a lot of work to do. It's not that easy. So don't think you can just throw on a headset and pick up a microphone and jump into the server and start casting round to round. It's a lot harder than you think. So, all right, with that, let's jump right into SK. So the big news in the CSGO world for this week is obviously SK is going to be changing some players. Right now, they've only changed one. Taco, they're one of their renowned entry fraggers, been a part of that squad for 27 months, over 2 years. Is going to be departing the starting SK lineup, and that's going to leave just 4. That's going to leave the main core of Fallen, Coldzera, and Fur, and then of course Bolts, who is he's part of SK, but as Hollis brought up to me last week, he's still on loan from Immortals. So Taco leaves after an abysmal 17th to 22nd place in the recent WSG, which is the event they were practicing for, and there's definitely some kind of rumblings out there that that's not the last player to leave. So, what do you think about these changes from SK that are going to be going down?
Well, at first I was very surprised that the first player that they announce is not going to be staying is Taco. Um, you know, it's kind of hard to talk about because there's obviously stuff we don't know, and there's obviously things going on behind the scenes that have led to these changes. But I think from a standpoint of a player and as a marketing person in esports, it probably was the right call to make a major change like this. And I'm sure it's not just going to be Taco, which is the sad part. There's obviously going to be people coming in who are um, definitely experienced, definitely know the scene. Like you're not just going to replace Taco and whoever else they decide to replace with just some random people from tier 3 Brazilian Counter-Strike. No, I think they're going to replace them with either support players or entry fraggers that know what they're doing, especially in Fallen's type of team. So I mean, we'll see what happens, but I think it was a good decision for them to start dropping players because whatever they were doing outside of the game to try and fix the issues that they had was not working.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. And it's someone I can't remember who I was listening to, but just recently I remember hearing something that really stood out to me as pretty indicative of the type of team that SK is. And this individual was saying like they're not the typical North American team. They're not content to just sit there and place fourth or fifth and collect a salary. That's just not their motivation. That's not why they play this game. They play Counter-Strike because they want to win every tournament they participate in. They're not satisfied with a semifinal or making the playoffs or just making the finals. They want to win every LAN and every tournament that they attend. So for them to be changing players, it means that and they're rightfully, I wouldn't say heartless about it, but they're very just clinical about their cuts. Taco has been one of the longest standing members of that team, hasn't been performing. He gets the axe. I mean, that's just the way they do things over there in SK. They want to win before anything else. So I'm excited to see, and that kind of is a good segue into our next little segment, which is these rumors that have been. If you've been on the subreddit, you've probably heard this, or if you've been on Twitter in the last 3 days, you've probably heard this. But there are rumblings and rumors that Simple and Flamey, yes, that Simple and that Flamey from Na'Vi are the likely two replacements, and the idea is that Bolts is going to go next, and it's going to be the core SK players of Fallen, Fur, and Cold Zero with Simple and Flamey. If that were to happen, if that lineup were to happen, what could that possibly what are the upsides and downsides to that roster, Hollis?
well, the upsides are that they're already good friends. I know all of these players definitely vibe with one another. The chemistry would be there. Um, there's no like new player aspect when it comes to picking these guys up. They all pug with each other. They all play with each other. They're all constantly talking with one another after events, before events, what have you. But I think definitely something to be worried about is how well a player like Flamey or Simple could fit into Fallen's type of offense, which is usually more slow paced and more dynamic when it comes to pacing in general. I mean, most of the times when they default, it's slow, but then you'll have these really explosive rounds that are supposed to be contrasting to your normal default. And I think Flamey would do well there, but Simple, I just have this feeling. I mean, he's gonna try and push it real hard that he's the star player. He's gonna be this pivot factor. I mean, I have a poster of Simple right here on my wall. I love this kid, and I just know the type of player he is, and he's gonna want. I think he's gonna want to try and control the offense more than Fallen is gonna let him. In my mind, I see that happening.
What do you think about the language issues? Because this is
Mm.
in a lot of European mixed teams, they speak the shared language is English. So in FaZe, for example, everyone speaks English. In Mouseboards, I think they all speak English as well. So I know that Simple came to North America to play with Liquid. I know his English is definitely improved. I know Flamey does have passable English. Some of the Brazilian guys, I don't know what they're. I know Fallen obviously has fantastic English, but I wonder if there's going to be any kind of communication issues kind of stemming from maybe not their full grasp of the English language, and if that's going to contribute to some frustration round around as things kind of get. I mean, keep in mind that Flamey and Simple are going to have very heavy CIS English accents, whereas the Brazilians are going to have very different English pronunciations because of their heavy Portuguese and Brazilian accents. So I wonder, can you envision a situation in which something as simple as the language they speak being a contributing factor, just negative impact?
Yeah, definitely. Of course, I feel like right off the bat, that'd probably be the first out of game issue that these players are going to have. Like when they pick these players up from the airport and we're about to get the show on the road, they're probably going to be like, "Oh crap, like we don't really know how to talk to one another right now." But then again, these are just rumors. These are just people's pipe dreams of what they want to happen in the Counter Strike scene. Like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if Simple and Flamey, it can happen. It could happen. It most likely, I don't know, probably won't. But there is a possibility of it, especially when, I mean, I don't know, you see what you see on the Reddit nowadays. So usually that's not just like someone's straight up fan fiction scenario. Usually there is some reason behind it. I don't know what you've seen,
There was a
but I
Flickshot
haven't.
article. There was a Flickshot article that was referencing this trade and
Mhm.
the likelihood of this trade going through. So it's not. It is. I agree that it is absolutely a rumor. Nothing. It is not confirmed by any means. But it seems to me that there is a lot more validity to the claims that Simple and Flamey are going to be transferred to SK than I think. I think it's in that weird middle ground between a straight rumor with some unconfirmed reports and it
Mhm.
being confirmed in a certainty. So it's kind of in that weird middle ground. So we'll see. I mean, on one hand, I would be more surprised if it did happen than if it didn't happen. But at the same time, I'm a CS:GO fan, so I'd love to see that. That's a freak team.
Yeah.
Someone made a really. I thought they posted a really funny meme on Twitter. I'm not sure if you saw that tweet from Don Hossie, but he said, "Okay, imagine you're on Mirage, on T side. You've got Fallen on A side with the op. You've got Flamey and Simple facing you in connector and window, and you've got Coldzera on B side. You're so freaked out, you have no idea what to do, and before you have a chance to make a decision, Fur has flanked you. So I mean, like that, and that's just a great way to point out kind of how like insane this roster would be if it were to actually come to fruition. But like I said, I really would not at all be surprised if it turns out that these is complete BS and it never happens. So wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah. We'll have to see.
We'll have to see. And actually, we'll actually jump right into the next couple topics we have, which is the much needed and thankful conclusion to this WESG tournament that was $1.5 million that absolutely no one gave a crap about at all, including most of the teams. So Fnatic does end up walking away with the big $800,000 check, which is awesome. Congrats to Fnatic, and because of that, the rumors that exist from NIP would be replacing Golden have kind of died down. That was actually what was pegged to happen before they started picking up these wins. So we've now seen two back-to-backs from Fnatic. They seem to be kind of recapturing some of that old 2015 form. But so what did you see? What did you see? Did you watch much of the WSG, at least the finals where they competed?
Yeah. I watched the finals.
What did you think about that Fnatic roster? I mean, is this kind of just a flash in the pan, couple of good events, or have they kind of, like I said, recaptured some of that old form?
I think it's a little bit of that old form mixed with a successful reformation of a couple of the minor traits of that offense. Um, the confidence is there from their old form. The ability to make a play on their own is still there, but then their ability to react off of those plays and make a call mid round that everyone agrees on. There's no confusion whatsoever. There's a clear goal that people can work towards. I think that's back. I think that is there, and Golden somehow was that puzzle piece that helped a catalyst form and just push these people into the end game scenarios that they're so good at clutching at and finishing off. So it was beautiful, very fun to watch these players hit their stride again in tournament.
Absolutely. I'm happy to see. I mean, it's tough. I come from, I started to get into competitive Counter-Strike in like 2014 or
Mm.
so like late 2013, 2014. So that was right when Fnatic was starting to kind of exert their dominance, and it was right before their period of like where they won the back-to-back, or they won two majors and won all those tournaments in a row, 6 tournaments in a row, something like that. So it's like I came into a Counter-Strike scene when I first got interested that was very bland and very boring, and it was kind of because of Fnatic's dominance. So I have never been much of a Fnatic fan, but I definitely respect those players, and I'm glad they've been able to refine their form because all I want, and it's been so, I feel like we're really lucky as CSGO fans to kind of be able to watch the scene develop the last like 6 months, because there's been a ton of parity. Like we've talked about many times on this program, like any of the top 10, almost the top 15 teams can step up to an event and win the event. So to see Fnatic kind of be jumped back into that mix as one of those teams alongside the Mouse Sports and the Cloud9s and the SKs and the Astrals. It's like they have the list of teams, the list of teams that can win any event at any given time is now even bigger, which is awesome. It means we're going to get more competitive, more interesting Counter-Strike every single tournament. So I'm actually really pumped that these guys are kind of back to where they are. And I'm glad Golden's going to get a chance to stay, because they just finished winning Katowice, and the reports started coming out that Golden was going to be benched for Exist, and that this was a process that was actually was already in motion before Katowice, and now it looks like that. I mean, thankfully, it looks like that deal has fallen through, because I think that at this point in time, you don't want to change a good thing, right? Like you don't fix if it's not broken.
Hmm. Exactly, and I love how Golden's coming in here, uh, and kind of riding some hype off of the community, um, being that he will stay, and I think it's gonna be really cool to watch this team in the future. If is it just hype? Is it not hype? We'll have to see. I think Flusha actually. Side note, Flusha was the number like 24th paid player in the world, and then after this past month, in a 4-week period, has jumped to number 4 or something like
Yeah,
that. I think stuff like that's
I
really
saw
cool to
that.
see.
Isn't that really
Yeah,
cool? Yeah, I think they're only behind the SK guys actually at this point.
yeah.
Yeah, that is really cool. Like they end up winning like 2 majors and like 6 tournaments back in 2014, and they're at number 24. And they just win 2 random tournaments in 2018, and that just shoots them all the way to the top. Yeah, you win Katowice, and and you win $800,000 at WSG, and all of a sudden that makes a pretty big dent in your career winnings for sure. Yeah, it's really cool. So with that, we're gonna wrap things up. I want to special shout out again to Respawn, the chairs that we're sitting in today, and of course HyperX, our favorite headset makers. But again, we're gonna go ahead and jump right into where you can find us next week. But thank you for tuning in and watching our off angle segment here for this week's AVGL episode of Off Angle.
All right, guys, that'll do it for us today. Make sure you go check us out on Twitter and whatnot. We will be showing the handles up on screen right now. And don't forget, April Anarchy, our playoffs and the end of our collegiate tournament will be happening at BeachCon April 14th through 18th. It's going to be an awesome weekend of Counter-Strike. So if you want to attend that event, make sure you get the tickets over there, and make sure to predict our games. The number one predictor will be walking home with a Respawn chair. Great chairs, great lumbar support. That is my favorite part about it, as you guys already know by now. So yeah, make sure to go over to avglcollege.org. You will find the information to all things AVGL CSGO and more. So make sure you head on over there. Follow us on Twitter at AVGL CSGO, AVGL_CSGO, that is. And make sure to catch us every Sunday night at twitch.tv/AVGL. And that'll do it for us today. We'll see you guys next time.